Well, as I'm sure you've seen if you're in the UK, as of Thursday night last week, France has been added back onto the non-essential travel list by the British government, which effectively means if we were to travel to France, as we were supposed to be doing for our Disneyland holiday in 2 days' time, firstly, when we return to the UK, we'd have to go into quarantine for 14 days, which would involve Andy missing the start of back to school in September and also have a big impact on Anna's work. And even silly little things like we wouldn't be able to pick Dave up from the kennels on the way home. We wouldn't be able to do any shopping on the way home. We wouldn't be able to stop in a hotel on the way back to break the journey up a little bit. But in addition to the quarantine stuff, which could, if that was all it was, it could have been a workaround. But also being added back onto the non-essential travel list means that our travel insurance, if we were to go to Disneyland as per the original plan, would be invalid. And we would, if we still chose to go, be traveling with no insurance during a global pandemic, which I'm sure you'll agree would be a terrible idea. So, as I guess we probably all saw coming as soon as the second wave stuff started to spread through the media, and especially once they put Spain back on this list a couple of weeks ago, we were very much in the place of putting some contingency plans in place for if this happened. But as you can imagine, we are not going to Disneyland Paris this week anymore. We have cancelled the trip. We've not got a refund yet. In fact, we've chosen not to take a cash refund. We've said to the travel agents, we just want to leave it on there as an open-ended trip. So as soon as the situation changes again, we're going to look to go almost immediately. So we're not taking a refund and rebooking further down the line or specifying an actual date just yet. If France comes off that list again in a month, we'll go in a month. If France comes off the list again in a year, we'll go in a year. So they've still got our cash. We've still got a booking, theoretically. It's just a booking with no date on it. So bottom line, we're not going to Disneyland this week as we hoped we would be, which, as you can imagine, hasn't gone down fantastically with Andy. Although he took it better than expected. This is a clip of us letting Andy know. This was on Friday morning after we'd got the news Thursday night and then been up until like 1 a.m. Thursday night planning an alternative trip, which I'll explain in a second. This is us telling Andy on Friday morning. Andy, next week, after you've been to Haven, we can't go to Disneyland anymore. Disney's closed.
We're going to take train to
So instead of going to Disneyland, we're going to go to London.
To O2.
You can look at the O2, we can go on the Jubilee line, and we're going to go and stay in our house in London again.
February.
We're going to do it in August. We're going to do it next week. So we're going to do 5 sleeps in London.
At Premier Inn?
No, it's going to be in another house in London, like last time, but a different one.
Next to the river?
Yeah, near the river, and we can walk to the Jubilee line.
180.
I don't think we're going to...
It's going to be a different house.
It's going to be in a flat, so we're going to be high.
We're going to be high up, and you'll be able
lift.
to...
Yeah, there'll be a lift.
And we can...
Juicy.
You can take Diesel Juicy if you want. And we can go on the tube, and we can just do whatever we want in London for a few days. And then we'll go to Disney next year maybe, or later this year. As soon as it's open again, we'll go to Disney. So no Disney in August.
Yeah.
London in
Little
August.
girl. Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yes.
Excellent.
That went better than I thought it would.
So yeah, although he wasn't completely pleased and still didn't thoroughly understand, there were a couple of times later on in the day where he was still saying, go to Disneyland next week. And we'd have to remind him, no, Andy, we're going to London next week. No Disneyland, we'll go to Disneyland at some point. That's the one problem with leaving the trip open-ended. We normally, when we cancel something, we tell him when we are going to do it, but we can't really tell him that. So at the moment, the party line is we've told him Disneyland is closed and we'll go again when it's open. At the moment, he hasn't checked their website. Hopefully he doesn't figure out to do that and realise that they are actually open. It's just us who aren't able to travel. And by us, I mean anyone in the UK. No one in the UK can travel safely at the moment because of the whole... and like I say, it's the no insurance thing that's the big issue. Travelling without travel insurance is mad. We're spoilt here in the UK. We're used to having the NHS and all of the protection that gives us. But if we were to go to another country without insurance, without an NHS safety net, and then get sick, that's a big problem. And also other things that travel insurance covers you for, like if we had our stuff stolen while we're there, if we're in an accident while we're there, if we get any legal problems while we're there, just the whole idea of traveling without insurance just seems like a terrible idea. So we weren't going to do that. We also weren't going to go against government advice. If the government are saying no non-essential travel, as much as the trip was important to Andy and it is important for his mental health, we're under no illusions that could be described as an essential trip. We don't feel the need to take on the government and try and force through the idea that the trip is essential. So we'll just have to accept that we're not going to Disneyland this week. But as mentioned, we do have an alternative trip in mind. You are still going to get 5 days of daily vlogs next week as we originally planned, and it is going to be us on a little holiday. So the plan is we are now going back to London. You'll remember back in February, we went down to London. It was Andy's first time staying down in London after he just randomly discovered London on the way home from Legoland last year and decided he wanted to go to the London Eye. And then we took him down there in February and he just fell in love with the tube, specifically the Jubilee line, North Greenwich train station on the Greenwich Peninsula. He just fell in love with London, and we've barely scratched the surface with London for him. He's only had those 2 trips, the time we went to the London Eye and the time we effectively just stayed very much around the Greenwich area and didn't really explore in any kind of depth. So we've booked an Airbnb back in the same kind of area. It's actually next door to where we stayed before, or the next building along. We were in a ground floor. I think it was officially a flat, even though it was ground floor and it was a 2-story and it was basically a house. But I think the fact it had no back door, no garden, anything like that, it was effectively a ground floor masonette we were in last time, and it didn't have flats above it. Well, this time we're kind of staying in the building next door in a 7th-story apartment, which is right on the river again. So we're going to get the same really cool river views that we got last time. That I loved being able to set up my time lapses out on the balcony out there. Andy loved being able to sit out there and watch the trains because you could see the DLR from up there. You could see the cable cars from up there. And so we've just gone in the same place, but higher. So we get a better view of all that stuff. We loved that location. It was really quiet and safe. And although we were in the thick of it in London and just down the road from it was literally a 10-minute walk from the O2 and from getting into the underground network, because it was away on the peninsula and it is a very expensive area to live. There's not a lot of people around, so you don't get the worry that you might get from being right in the thick of it in central London and staying there with Andy. It's a little bit quieter, a little bit of a slower pace. We're going to be staying there for the week, and we're just going to take it as it comes. We don't really have a plan for the week. It's the longest any of us would have ever spent in London. The longest trip we've ever done before was the February one when we were there Friday to Sunday. We're going for most of the week. We are going to have daily vlogs for 5 days that are going to be coming out next week. So starting on Monday, we'll just go through the trip day by day, all 5 days of the trip. Will come out Monday to Friday next week. So there should be lots of cool content for you coming then. At the moment, we're not really sure what we're going to do when we're down there. We're thinking a day at Legoland might be quite cool. If the weather holds, obviously Andy's going to want to go on the tube and ride around on that a little bit. I think it's probably time we take him to see some of the other sites that we think he'll like. St. Paul's Cathedral, Trafalgar Square, Buckingham Palace, that kind of stuff that he's never seen before, but I think he'd actually find quite interesting. I think London itself is going to be a little bit weird because I guess there's going to be far fewer tourists there because international travel isn't really doable for many people at the moment. So it's going to be London, but odd, but hopefully a really cool trip. Let us know down in the comments if you've got any suggestions for things we can do down in London for the week with Andy. A lot of people have suggested the Transport Museum, the Science Museum, the Natural History Museum, that kind of stuff. Museums are always a little bit hit and miss with Andy because he's not interested. He doesn't want to go around and read stuff or look at stuff. He wants to do stuff. So if there's museums where he can get in there and touch stuff and do stuff and get involved, then he'll be interested. But if it's more of a walking around quietly looking at stuff and learning things, that's not really going to get the job done with Andy. So any suggestions for things that could that could keep him amused and try and make up for the lack of the Disney trip. That's really what we're looking to do. We all know just how important this Disneyland trip was to Andy, and we're trying to use this trip to take his mind off that and do as many of the things that he wants to do and that he's been asking to do as we can, hence getting back down to London, getting on the Underground, get him to a theme park, whether it's Legoland, whether it's Thorpe Park, whether it's another option that maybe we don't know about at the moment. We've considered maybe doing the London Eye again, but we're a little bit iffy about how social distancing might work on the London Eye. I'm sure there'll be a day where we go and find a shopping centre to ride up and down in some elevators. The only problem there, of course, is, again, the social distancing. The big advantage when it comes to lifts is the apartment that we're staying in. There is obviously a lift in the building to get up to the 7th floor where we're going to be. So he's going to have loads of fun riding up and down in that lift. And just hopefully we're going to have a really cool week. I hope you understand why this hasn't been an all-action, super fun vlog. As I've mentioned a few times when I'm streaming in previous vlogs on social media, in order to allow us to have this week to 10 days off of work, I've had to work mega hard over the last couple of weeks to get us to that point. I've barely left this desk in the last 3 weeks. I've been out here from like 8:30 in the morning through till midnight most days, stacking up my videos, getting work done, ready for us to be able to go on this trip and just have our first real break, our first bit of time off in a long time. And it's something we're all very much looking forward to. And like I say, hopefully it's going to lead to some really cool videos and just lots of fun. That's what I'm hoping for. So it's not Disney, but hopefully it will still be cool. I want to go to Disney. Don't let Andy see that bit. If you are looking forward to next week's videos, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on this video to let us know. Let us know down in the comments as well your suggestions for things that we can do while we're there. Subscribe, turn your notifications on so you don't miss all of those videos as well. And thank you very much for watching.